Hello, my name is Glynis, and welcome to Crochet by Glynis. Before I get started, this channel is an effort to not only exhibit my skills, but to help other people practice the art of crochet, because I believe it's one of those things that should be kept with us. It used to be a survival skill. I believe it's a survival skill still. Sorry, I'm just looking at my dog. Okay, but I want to say again, if you come across this channel, please do me a favor by liking and subscribing it. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook. My Facebook is Glynis, Crochet by Glynis. Crochet by Glynis is trademarked on on Facebook. It has a my own web page where I want to focus on posting completed works there, and not only that, posting future projects for demonstration here. Also, I have a shop where we sell ice brand yarns, and not only ice brand yarns, we sell hooks, we sell all that stuff people need. Not even if you don't crochet, say if you knit and you need supplies and you can't find that special thing, well, don't give up until you look at my site. My site is Crochet by Glynis at crochetbyglynis.yarnshopping.com. Okay. All right. Now that we got all that out the way, okay. The last video I made, my first video I made, was posted on Facebook. So it's up. If you want to go and see it on Facebook, it's Crochet by Glynis. And what we were working on was some very basic crochet. And what I mean is, we were just going over some stuff like, say, hey, you never did this before, and you want to have some pointers as far as starting out, so you obviously end up less frustrated than a lot of people that were frustrated, that were trying out. So here we go. I'll show you what we worked on. We worked on this. This is a combination of when we got to this, I demonstrated that, okay, whenever we start to practice new things, what we will do is we will have a base. We will always start at our base, and our base would be 40 chains. So 40 chains until we get to something that requires a little bit more of space to demonstrate. Again, since we will be doing this again, here I'm going to break this. Right, so this is our swatch. Now these are our single crochets. For people who have been practicing from the last video, they're single crochets. If your single crochets line up like this, I mean, don't worry about the pattern that's made and stuff. That's as a result of the yarn. But if it lines up like this, and you have that perfect last row, and then you have that perfect chain row right there, and you have that perfect bridge from going from one row to another on one side, and you weren't able to do it on the other side, then okay, you got there. Now as we go through our second lesson, which will be here in about a minute or so, we will talk about how did I get to this? How did I get to this? Because the ends tend to be a big mistake. Because sometimes you will go long on one row and then you'll go short on the other row, or you'll get this effect to where all the rows are shrinking. Well, this is easily rectified. Now I will explain that to you. Now for this video, we will create our base. We will go through how to create a loop, but this time, instead of using single crochets, we will be using double crochets. So what is a double crochet? Before we get into that, let's go ahead and make our base. So here you go. Um, and that's kind of ate up right there. So here you go. Let's get into making our base. So I'm going to show my finger there. I'm going to wrap it once. I'm going to wrap it again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger here. I'm going to take that and I'm going to do it one more time and make a loop that way. And for the time being, we will not leave our 5mm hook. This is our 5mm hook. 5mm hooks are H's. And remember why I said that when you're a very beginner at this, 5mm is a good it's a good starter tool to start at, because it gets you used to certain actions and stuff. All right, you want to get used to being able to move at a certain way. So here we go. I'm gonna find my hoop. My slip knot is still there. Now we're not doing any master work. Because we're not doing any master work, when we get to the master work portion, I'll talk about what to do with this. But here we go. So here we go. We're going to make our 40 chains. Remember, when we make our chains, we're not pulling. We're not pulling. I'm barely holding this. I'm barely holding this where it is right now. Right. So so here we go. Let's make our chains. Right. Seven, 8, 9, now 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 8, 9, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. All right, here we go. We have our 40. They are perfect. They're not too tight and they're not too loose. Remember, rule of thumb, you can be too loose. You can be too loose because there'll be some forgiveness. You can't be too tight. If you're too tight, you can't work your hook through. Now, let's get into our double crochets, and then we'll talk about why my rows didn't decrease, while other people's might have either increased or decreased. So here you go. I'm going to yarn over before I go into the next chain. So let's do this again so you can see it right more in front of the thing. Now you have your own technique in doing this, but here we go. That's my yarn over, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the very next hole, which you see, and I'm going to do my best to work it through. It's stuff like this that takes time to do because you got to have a little knack for it. Right, so I got it through there. Now here, I want you to observe something. I want you to look at how there are 3 on here, and I'll show it to you again. There are 3 hoops on here. Single crochet, you know you're only getting 2, right? So here you go. Now, how do I close this? I'm going to yarn over once, and I'm going to pull through 2. All right? I'm going to keep, now I have 2 on my hook. Now I'm going to yarn over again, and I'm going to pull through, and there we go. That is a double crochet. Now, these first 2 lessons, the first video was kind of long because it was more like an introductory video, but this one, now these 2 things right here that I'm showing you are crucial because many projects are built off of this. Many projects are built off of this, like for the foundation, for the creating other patterns like the shell stitch. The shell stitch ain't nothing but double crochets, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But here we go. Let's go to our next chain. Now I'm going to do it again. Now the difference between a single crochet and a double crochet is that I yarn over before I go into the next hole, right? I go into the next hole, and then when I go through the next hole, I yarn over. It's kind of like instant. It's kind of like instant. When you go through, you automatically grab that yarn and you make that motion to where it's almost a yarn over, and then when you pull through, you have 3 there. And then once again, I'm going to go 2, and I'm going to go back to 1, right? And let's do it again, just in case, right? I yarned over. I went through the center of my stitch, and now I have 3, right? Here and there. All right, so let's complete this row. Show you what it looks like. Now remember, just because you're starting a new work, the most frustrating thing about starting something new is that first row, because you have to work. If your chains are too tight, then you're fighting through your chains. But if they're not, you still have to find a way through all these little tiny little holes. Don't take that the wrong way, but in order to make it right. And I will hold this one next to the work of single crochets, and then we can ask ourselves, okay, what is the difference between these? Now, I think we could start a project knowing these 2 stitches. What can we make out of these 2 projects, right? Now, the thing about doing crafts, doing handcrafts, manufacturing, making things with hand, is that you don't feel accomplishment until you actually make something that you consider useful with your hands. So we're going to work on a project with this, okay? In the next video I make, we're going to complete a project. And while we're doing all of this, we're going to build up to larger projects. And then sometimes we're going to we'll make stuff that are probably going to take several weeks to finish. But then in the process, we're going to make things all along the way. But here we go. Let's finish this row. I want to say hello to my friends in Japan. You know, I watch a lot of Nihon no news を、そして悪い天気ですよ。悪い天気、地震だ、台風で、そしてたくさん悪いことが。And I wish a lot of my friends are safe there. I don't know if I have a lot of friends left there, but hey, if you're a Japanese speaker and stuff, friend me, okay? Let's do some stuff. I hope that I can use this as a reach out to a lot of people that are around the world, especially in my favorite place, Nihon. Hopefully I can get to the point to where I can do this show mostly in Japanese. So that way, I mean, if you guys like Mighty Jam Rock, Moshimo Mighty Jam Rock, Kite, Kikimasu ka? Or Mighty Jam Rock, Daisuki desu. That's what I'm listening to now. Right, I don't want to be silent in this time here, so let's pause, take a break, and then when I come back, we can talk about this project here. Well, it's not a project; it's a practice. Now, but before, so that brings up a invalid point, and that is get into habit of practicing your stitches, practicing your stitches, making swatches. Swatches tell you a lot about how you are able to complete projects, and if you can create a swatch, or if you can do so many stitches in say a minute, or say in like 2 minutes and stuff, then basically whenever you're saying you're going to do larger works, you can write it out. You can write it out. You can say, yeah, it takes me about this amount of time sitting here watching TV, or listening to music and things like that. It's another pro tip. Almost done here. Maybe I don't have to just turn it off for right now. And then I'm still trying to figure out how YouTube works. If I can pause the video, or do I have to make certain videos and join them? Now, in the future, while we are practicing, I will have something to show to demonstrate what we are doing for the day or the week. My plan is to have every week on Thursdays, until I get into the swing of things, until I get my tempo, every week on Thursdays, have a video ready, have a whole thing ready, have my diagrams ready for you guys to look at, and for you guys to try for yourselves, and for questions. Now here you go. Here's another tip. Now, I'm at the end, right? This is where people always have to look at, because when you're starting the next row, you're going to yarn over, and you're going to, at the end of the crochet that you just made, start your next row. All right. So that way, your work stays flush. So here we go. Let's do some comparisons before we call the end of this. Okay, so here we go. This is double. We made our base again. I showed you again how to make your loops. People are gonna make up their own minds on how to make loops. But here you go. This is the difference between singles and doubles, right? Singles, single crochet, double crochet. All right, so we'll leave it there for now. When I come back, you'll have a bigger swatch of our previous work. And okay, again, this has been Crochet by Glynis. Please, if you see this channel, support me. If you need supplies, support me by shopping at crochetbyglynis.yarnshopping.com, and feel free to leave me any replies that you have, any requests that you have, on my Facebook page at Crochet by Glynis. And you may even get a reply from me. Until later, stay cool.